Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Right now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling. Like there is lightning deep in my bones. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. I'm going higher than I've ever known. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling. Like there is lightning deep in my bones. Yeah, I got a real good feeling. I won't hit no ceiling. I'm going higher than I've ever known. I got a real good feeling.
Guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about some longer-term technical and fundamental analysis on Bitcoin, because there is a pattern that is playing out on the weekly chart on Bitcoin right now that gives us a price target of $120,000. It is what is known as an ascending triangle pattern, and whenever these play out, there's about a 70% chance that they are going to break to the upside. And in this video, we're going to be looking at this pattern and quite a bit of other technical analysis, and we're going to be coming to a conclusion. Is Plan B right about his $135,000 price prediction for December? Because he did say that we should be looking at least a $63,000 price prediction in October. We closed at 62. I'll give it to him. He was pretty close. We're going to be talking about all of that today. If you do enjoy today's stream and you like the stream, consider dropping a like on the stream and also subscribe. We're looking for 200K subs this week. We're really excited for it. So guys, make sure you stick around. I am joined, as always, by TA10.
Here, I see in chat, it says the audio is low, the volume is low, so we don't have to wait here to see if mine's different. I don't know if your mic is farther away from your face. I don't know if we set something up wrong. We got volume though as a problem.
My volume's all
is my let me know in chat, is Tim's volume
okay? Better? Is Tim's volume better?
It should be better.
Let us see.
It'll take a second.
Fun.
But I turned it up.
Someone said volume's fine.
Volume's fine.
Tim is not the one singing the intro.
Tim is indeed not the one singing the intro.
Now someone says it is super loud.
It's super loud, lol.
Gosh, this is great.
No, so this is not what happened.
Luckily, they have their own volume knobs, right?
Cool. Is it better now?
Now someone said now it's good.
Is it better now? Well, we are joined as never by Mr. Shroom, TA Shroom. He is our fill-in producer today because Smay is out sick. He's not feeling very well, so forgive us. We kind of threw him in the hot seat last second. He literally found out he was going to have to produce today's show about 10 minutes ago. So forgive him. It's not his fault. We're working on the audio, and we're going to get that fixed. But, guys, we got a lot to talk about in today's show. Is it better now? We better now? I think we're better.
It's hard to read chat. The chat is literally
The chat is going,
like,
brrr, it's going so fast. I think we're better.
But I see the majority of them saying good.
I think we're good. Cool beans. Well, guys, we got a lot to talk about today. Tim, how was your weekend, buddy?
It was good. Okay, Virginia Tech won. You know, that's it's a good and a bad thing because it might have put a little bit of cold water on the hot seat. Hopefully not, though. Fuente, love you as a person, but your time is done. Other than that, though, we had a Smay birthday party. Which, might be why 21. He is sick. You never know. He did turn 21, so he tasted some of the forbidden fruit.
The forbidden fruit.
And he liked it a little too much. Maybe that's another. Maybe that's why he's sick. You know?
Oh no.
I don't know. Let us know in chat why you think Smay is sick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leading indicators.
There's a lot of leading indicators, huh? How about you, Mr. T Shroom? How was your weekend, buddy?
I had a great weekend. Unfortunately, my Gators lost, but they were playing the #1 team.
Gators got whooped. That was sad.
You know, what was really rough was those last 2 minutes of the first half.
I was watching. I watched the last 5 minutes. I was at a restaurant and bar here in town. And I was watching. I'm like, oh come on, you guys! They almost lost 35-0. That would have been really sad. Well, guys, today's show is brought to you by the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. That is the one-stop shop to learn absolutely everything you need to know about technical analysis. It is a product that we've been developing for over 3 years. And if you want to learn how to do all of the TA that we're going to be doing in today's show, make sure to check the link down below. But let's go ahead and jump jump onto my screen, we have a lot of technical analysis to do here, guys, especially some longer-term TA. But we're going to start on the daily chart, and we're going to kind of run through everything really quickly, and then we're going to back up and do some longer-term analysis and have some discussion around that. So let's start here on the daily chart. First thing I want to show you on the daily chart is that the MACD on Bitcoin has been converging ever since the 28th of October. That is a good sign, and it does mean that we are likely going to be seeing some kind of recovery at some point soon. And here's the other thing on the MACD on the daily chart. We are currently still, this is only the 5th time in history we've ever been this high on the MACD. You can see the previous 3, 4 right here. This is one of the highest levels that Bitcoin has ever found itself at on the MACD. That is a very bullish thing. But let me back up just for a second. I also want to mention this. We did have a bull flag that was forming on Bitcoin with a price target of north of $100,000 that we've talked about before, about $85,000 actually, excuse me. And we actually did break bullish out of that over the last couple of days. So that is a very good sign indeed. It does mean that we're likely going to be moving to the upside a little bit here. We're going to be talking about how it seems that Bitcoin is finding an equilibrium, it's finding balance right here at this level, and that we're very excited about that. Now, the next thing I want to show you has to do with our candlesticks. These last 3 candlesticks that have formed on Bitcoin, I'll show you on a clean chart really quickly. These last 3 candlesticks that have formed on Bitcoin are absolutely vital, and I'll show you why. Number 1, we're seeing a bullish engulfing candlestick form right here on the Halloween candle yesterday and November 1st candlestick today. We also saw a bullish engulfing candlestick happen back over here on the 27th and 28th of October, and third and finally, we have 3 hammers. I've never seen a triple hammer formation happen like this, or at least I don't remember the last time I did. This happens whenever you see these massive lower candlesticks. Now, you might think that these lower wicks are bearish. I would argue that they're not. What it means is that the bears attempted to push Bitcoin down to $60,700. They attempted to push us down to $60,000. They attempted to push us down to $59,400. But then they failed because the bulls bought it back up. So whenever you see large lower wicks like that, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can actually be a very good thing because it means that the bulls are retaining their control. Now, on top of that, let's go ahead and take a look at some bullish RSI divergence here. This is something that we've mentioned several times on the channel, but I'm going to show you again. We can see this is anchored back over here on the 12th of October, and if we draw an uptrend right here and then a downtrend right here, there is very bullish RSI divergence that's showing up. We have higher lows and lower highs happening on the price action and on the, higher lows and then also lower lows happening down here on the RSI. That indicates longer term bullish RSI divergence. That is very bullish. And it does indicate that we're going to be moving to the upside. And by the way, I always forget to do this, but let me mention to you how the show is broken down. This is our first segment. This is our bullish segment. We're going to be going until 9:50, which is here in about 15 minutes. Then we're going to go into a short intermission, a short break. We're going to read some super chats, interact with you guys. Then we're going to come back, look at our bearish technicals, which frankly, there aren't a lot of them. And then at the final bit of this show, we're going to be diving into some discussion and talking about the state of the market. So that's kind of the layout of what the show looks like for right now. But this bullish RSI divergence is going to play in heavily to what we're talking about today. Now, another thing to show you happens here on the VPVR. And the thing about the VPVR is it has this red line. This is called the point of control, and it represents what I call the VPVR maximum, the highest level that the VPVR is. Now, we don't have time to go fully into what the VPVR is today. If you want to learn more about the VPVR, we do have a video on it over in CT2A. But the point here is that this point of control represents kind of the top of a mountain. You can think about the VPVR as a series of hills, and then you can think about the market like a ball. A ball likes to roll down the hill because it likes to go to the point of the lowest potential energy, which is at the bottom of the hill. It's in a valley, right? You don't like sitting up here at the top because you're going to roll down. That's kind of what Bitcoin is doing right now. It's sitting up here on top of this point of control, and eventually it's going to roll down the hill in one of 2 directions. I personally think it's going to roll down the hill in the bullish direction, but time will tell on that. We're going to be coming to a conclusion on that before the end of this show. Now, looking here at the Bollinger Bands, we can also see that the Bollinger Bands are continuing to constrict. What does this mean? Well, similarly to how we know that we are constricting because the VPVR is getting wider right here, the Bollinger Bands constricting indicates to us that we're entering a lot of sideways movement. And that's going to be part of the story today, that Bitcoin is moving sideways. That might seem like a bad thing. It is actually one of the most bullish things that could happen to Bitcoin, period. And we're going to talk about why. There's a lot that we're going to dive into today, so hang on. We just have to go through these technicals first. Now, looking down here at the 4-hourly chart, there's actually a lot of things that are incredibly bullish. First and foremost, the first thing that jumps out at me when I look at this is about 12 hours ago, around midnight, Bitcoin's bears tried to push us down to 59,400, and the bulls said, nope, actually, we're gonna not do that, and we bounced and rallied all the way up to $62,500. This is not only a bullish engulfing candlestick formation, it is a massive bullish engulfing candlestick formation, and that tells us, as do many other technicals right now, that Bitcoin's bears are trying to push us down, and the bulls are saying no. You see how that works? That means the bulls are the ones that are dictating the conversation here. And that is very important, because if the bulls are in power, then that means they're going to get their way. What do the bulls do? They buy the market. They drive us to the upside. That all plays into what we expect is going to happen moving here into the month of November. So it makes a whole lot of sense. Moving right along here, we can also see that on the MACD down here, the histograms on the MACD actually did converge on themselves, and we did see a bullish MACD cross. We also saw a bullish MACD cross happen over here on the 28th of November, and gradually, slowly but surely, the MACD is trying to get back up above here, above the zero level with some volume and some momentum. Time will tell how that goes. Now, another thing I want to show you happens here on the 4-hourly chart, and that is that somebody actually tweeted this at me. There is the head and shoulders pattern trying to form. Now, we've talked about this head and shoulders pattern over the last several days. I personally think this is just about the ugliest head and shoulders pattern I have seen in a while, but theoretically it does count. Drop a 1 in chat if you think this counts as a head and shoulders pattern. At the end of the day, what matters with head and shoulders patterns is, does everybody else think it's a head and shoulders pattern? Because remember, the core of technical analysis is trying to understand the way that the traders and the analysts are thinking, so that you can understand how they're going to act, and therefore how they're going to move the market, so that you can profit from those movements. That's kind of the whole core of TA. You might want to watch that twice, because that's really important. If you don't understand that, everything else doesn't have a foundation. But if a lot of people think that this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern, then it is worth my time to go ahead and show you what its price target is. Very simply, its price target is $67,400. We do have a descending neckline right here, and if we break that, then that would give us the bullish momentum and strength that we need to start moving up here to a new local high around 67,005. And if we do that, we would actually probably be double topping up here. Hopefully we'd go a little bit farther. But the point is, this inverse HNS could very well give us the momentum that we need to push ourselves back to all-time high. Now, moving quickly down here, actually, I take that back. There's one more thing I want to show you before we move on down to the hourly chart, and that is this. There was a downtrending level of resistance right here on Bitcoin. This was forming the resistance of our bull flag that we were in for several days, and ever since we broke sideways out of it, we actually have been using it as support. We kept falling down to it, and the fact that we bounced off of that 3 times is actually very strong, is a very strong signal to me that Bitcoin is doing well. I'm happy about that. It means that Bitcoin has turned previous resistance into current support, so that is a very good thing. Now, moving down here to the hourly chart, there are a couple more things we want to talk about, and then we're going to zoom out and look at the weekly chart for just a second. The first thing happens down here on the hourly chart. That is the MACD. The MACD is gradually trending to the upside. Now, for the last 3 hours, it's been constricting bearish on itself. We'll get to that in a little bit. But for the most part, it has been moving to the upside, especially right here, as we saw that massive green candlestick come in on Bitcoin. On top of that, if we take a look here at the Bollinger Bands, you can see that we're actually riding the top band, which indicates, again, that there's bullish strength in the market, and that is exactly what we want to see. On top of that, one of the final things I want to show you on the technicals right now is that there is what is known as bullish RSI divergence showing up down here on the hourly chart. We talked about earlier how there's bullish RSI divergence on the daily chart, but right now there's bullish RSI divergence on the hourly chart. Take a look at this. We have downtrending support right here on the daily, or on the hourly, and then we have uptrending support right here on the hourly. That is bullish RSI divergence, and that is a very good sign. In fact, a lot of it is probably already played out. We've bounced and rallied about $3,000 here, and then in doing that, we've also formed a bullish flag right here, and if this bull flag does break to the upside, then guess what? This would give us a price target right up here with the inverse head and shoulders pattern. This one gives us a price target of 65K. So there's a lot of bullish things going on the hourly chart, daily chart, and 4-hourly chart, but I want to zoom out to the weekly chart. This is not a chart that we look at very often, but it's very important that we do, and actually, even before we get to the weekly chart, I first want to show you the monthly chart. We're going to look at this a little bit more in detail here in a second, but I want you to look at the monthly chart close that just happened for October. During this month, Bitcoin rallied $18,000 on the candle body. We rallied 42% to the upside, and in doing so, as far as I can tell, we have set a new weekly chart high on a candle body close. So theoretically, we just broke another all-time high rather than just a simple price all-time high. We broke a monthly chart candle body all-time high, which is very important in its own right, and that's a very good thing. But if we could just go ahead and look at this, flat level of resistance right here, then we actually find something interesting. There's a flat level of resistance, and then moving down here to the weekly chart, we can kind of draw an uptrend right here, and you'll notice that we're actually in what you would call an ascending triangle pattern. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it with these 2 points right here, using July as our anchor point, and then using September as our set point. This ascending triangle pattern is very bullish. Why? Well, remember, ascending triangle patterns have a 70% chance of breaking to the upside, and we're actually going to look at some historical examples of triangle patterns like this here in a second. But this ascending triangle pattern has a price target, just simply extrapolating here, of $118,000. Almost 120K is where this price target is. And in fact, it's predicting that it's going to happen relatively quickly. The fact of the matter is, if Bitcoin does go parabolic, like a lot of people are saying that it's going to, then this would play out, sending Bitcoin to 120K. But let's back up. Let's look at something really quickly. Let's try and find other ascending and descending triangle patterns on weekly charts throughout the history of cryptocurrency to see if this has a lot of validity. Well, the only other one that I can think of on the weekly chart for Bitcoin shows up right here in 2018, and I vividly remember this market because I started the channel during this market. The channel got started right over here, and then pretty much the first year was just Bitcoin in a giant descending triangle pattern. It seemed like every single day, all I was talking about was a giant descending triangle pattern. What happened? 70% likelihood it break to the downside. It also had a price target that was pretty low. If we look at our price target here, then the price target was technically in the negative, but the point is it had a very low price target. It broke bearish, just as you would expect. On top of that, let's take a look at the Ethereum market. Many of you guys will remember the ascending triangle pattern that formed in 2017. This formed right when I got into the market. This was back in 2017. I got in the market midway through 2017. I remember this. This was an ascending triangle pattern on Ethereum. What did it do? It broke to the upside. The only examples that I can think of in the history of both of these markets have played out exactly as the analysis would predict. And by the way, it's not just Bitcoin that's in an ascending triangle pattern. It's also Ethereum that's in an ascending triangle pattern, as you can see right here. So, based on historical analysis, which we need to do with all of our technical analysis to make sure that it is accurate, Bitcoin's ascending triangle right here should come to pass. And if it does, it has a price target of $120,000. So, Tim, I have a question for you. Have you seen longer-term chart formations like this play out more realistically and as predicted more often than shorter-term patterns? Because sometimes when you're down on the hourly chart, 4-hourly chart, they don't play out exactly the way you think they're going to.
Yeah, no, this is actually something I was thinking about over the weekend. It was, I've been doing a lot of back analysis or historical analysis, whichever you want to call it, because ultimately that's what I have to do to be able to read some of the, especially the monthly chart. I think I can get away with looking at the weekly chart and having experience. I remember where I was, what I was doing. But to really take into account what the monthly chart's doing, it kind of predates my time of when I was doing technical analysis. However, looking at the back analysis, there are some things I think on Bitcoin, it's kind of weird. There are some things I think Bitcoin's too new to fully read every single TA note on the monthly chart, but there's other things that I'm like, it actually probably gives you a better picture of where you're going looking at that monthly and weekly chart than it does maybe like the 1 hourly, the 2 hourly, the 4 hourly, sometimes things don't play out the way they should because there is a little bit more volatility in Bitcoin than in the regular stock market. However, as a whole, especially with what we're looking at here with formations, for sure I have found when you look at the bigger time frames, they give you a much better indication of what formations are doing with a higher percentage of them playing out as they should.
Absolutely. Well, here's the deal, guys. I have found in my experience, the longer term you look at on the chart formations, the more likely you are to follow the chart formations. This is a really nuanced piece of TA knowledge that I have learned over the years that I've been doing this. If you're looking at a longer term time frame, oftentimes the analysis is going to be even more accurate. Just think about it. Take it to extremes. On the weekly, monthly chart, they almost always seem to play out almost exactly as you would expect. When you're down on the minute chart, 5-minute, 15-minute chart, there's all kinds of volatility. There's all kinds of whale movement. There's all kinds of news that can affect all of that. A whale cannot affect the weekly chart. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. News is going to affect the weekly chart, but it's going to take a year or more to play out if it's going to have an impact on that time scale. So the longer term the TA, the more accurate I've generally found it to be. So let's go ahead and jump back onto my chart really quickly, and I want to look at one of our technical indicators called the market cipher. I'm going to run through this really fast because I want to get on to some of these news stories. There are a couple of them that I really want to dive into. The first thing we want to show you on Cypher down here is this. Take a look here at the last couple of days And you will see not only is the money flow stagnating, we're also seeing the RSI trade sideways, we're also seeing the momentum trade sideways, and the VWAP is trading sideways. What does that tell us? That means that Bitcoin is trading sideways. That means that Bitcoin is in a very consolidated point. And here's the deal. Bitcoin has finally seemingly found a happy neutral position sitting right here around $61,000 to $62,000. This is a very good sign. Why? Because when Bitcoin's in a gigantic rally like this, it needs time to correct. I've been saying this for a month. If you want Bitcoin to maintain this rally and for it to continue in a healthy way, breaking new all-time highs, going to 130K, you've got to have correction. It's just not going to continue if you don't. Bitcoin has found healthy correction here. It's not jumped off a cliff. It's not taken a nosedive. It's not gone parachuting without a chute. It has traded sideways. It has found happy equilibrium. That is a good sign. It means we're building foundations. It's very, very, very good. Now, looking down here on the 4-hourly chart, things are a little bit different on the money flow. Down here, we have something called you can see right here, we have a large anchor wave right here on the 27th, and then we have a smaller trigger wave right here on the 1st of November, which is today. This indicates that the momentum is basically just, those are fancy terms for saying it's setting higher lows, and then we can also see that the money flow is rounding here. You can see that the VWAP is moving to the upside, and the RSI is moving to the upside. So the 4-hourly chart's actually relatively bullish compared to the neutrality that we were seeing on the daily chart. Moving on down to the 1-hourly chart, things look a little bit different even still. Looking down here, we can see that we're actually looking for some tops. We have set higher lows. We have seen an anchor wave and a trigger wave right here. We've seen uptrending happening on the chart, but now it looks like that we're actually going to have a little bit of downwards momentum. RSI is moving to the downside a little bit. We see a red dot on momentum. VWAP's moving to the downside. I know I'm running through this quickly. Just for all of our cipher traders out there, I do want you to be able to see what that is saying. So basically, the cipher is telling us daily chart, pretty neutral. 4-hourly chart, pretty bullish. Hourly chart saying, hey, we just had a big rally. We kind of need to cool our jets a little bit. That's pretty much what cipher is telling us. Now, really quickly, before we move into intermission, there are 2 more stories that I want to jump into very briefly. The very first one here is this, and I'm going to run through this really quickly because it's a very simple point. Bitcoin supply on exchanges drops to 3-year low. Now, I actually want to read a snippet from this article. Historically, Bitcoin balances have been low when the market has been on the cusp of a good run, or at least strong belief in its current valuation. You can take a look here at the Glassnode chart. The amount of Bitcoin on exchange hit a high in March of 2020, and it's been going to the downside ever since. We've been seeing a massive decrease in supply on the exchanges. What does that mean? That essentially tells us that Bitcoin is feeling very confident, or in another word, you might say the investors are feeling very confident in the Bitcoin market. That's why they're taking money off of exchanges, putting it in a cold storage. They expect that there's going to be a big rally. And remember what I said earlier. The crux of technical analysis is trying to understand through the charts what the traders are thinking so that you understand how the traders might act, so that you understand how they might move the market via their actions, so that you can trade those movements. That's really what technical analysis is at its essence. And if we get the impression that the technicals and in this case the on-chain metrics are telling us that people are expecting the market's going to move to the upside, well then what's going to happen? The market's probably going to move to the upside because they are acting in such a way. Moving on here, we can also see this. I'm going to run over this briefly also. I'm not going to dive too deep into this article. Bitcoin eyes Fed meeting after biggest monthly price gain since December 2020. Just kind of want to bring you an update on this. This has not developed into a story just yet, but it is going to. There is a Fed meeting happening on Wednesday where they're going to be talking about concluding the monthly $120 billion asset purchases that we've been doing on the United States level over the last 18 months or so. So here's the deal. Basically what we're looking at, Bitcoin bulls are extremely bullish long-term. The technicals are extremely bullish long-term, and we're about to see a shakeup in the global financial markets as a result of the Fed potentially tapering off some of their asset purchases, which is great for the health of the U.S. dollar, but whenever you start tapering those, you can cause a massive amount of instability in the market if you're not careful. Tim, before we go into intermission, how big of an impact do you think the Fed has on Bitcoin whenever they are doing things that control the valuation of the U.S. dollar? How important is that to the investor of Bitcoin?
I mean, it's definitely something you need to continue to keep an eye on. The good news is, though, is that unlike the U.S. dollar, which is completely reliant on what the U.S. government is doing with it, Bitcoin is bigger than the U.S. government, so therefore it's not the same as what it affects the fiat currency of the U.S. dollar.
Yeah. So. Well, let's go ahead and jump into an intermission here, and we will come back to our bearish segment here at the top of the hour.
We do need to, we need to go semi-quickly because I think we have a little bit shorter window here. So
we can start at 10:10. It's all right.
we go a little long?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we have one
Sorry,
from...
not 10:10. 10 o'clock.
Yeah. We have one from Ish. Here we go. Ish Kurunsky. We're going to go with it. No, Kurunskazi. Whatever. Bull flag about to break out on the daily. I think we discussed that actually briefly. I don't know if you want to touch on that really quickly again.
Yeah, I'll show them again. On the daily chart, we can look at the bull flag here. I would argue that it's actually already been broken out of. Let me show you here on the daily chart. There was a downtrend right here. There was a downtrend right here. This was forming the bull flag that we talked about last week. This bull flag has a price target of, if I remember correctly from our analysis last week, I want to say it has a price target of $85,000. Let's take a look at this. 84,600. I was close. My memory serves me well. Bitcoin has, in my opinion, broken bullish out of that, and we're actually using that downtrending resistance as support, which is definitely a very good sign. Full screen.
Gotcha. Got another one from Albert Sanchez Alvarez. None of those were hard. It's
That's
just
an awesome name.
A lot of ahs in there. Your show is now my second favorite. Charging my Tesla for a day of ride sharing and listening to you guys go Aztecs.
Let's go. Aztecs. Who are the Aztecs?
I don't know. I mean, there's a couple different teams with that name, but I'm trying to remember which ones they were. Well, I'll think on it. Ethan Triplett said, which, by the way, we're second favorite show. I mean, that's honoring, you know.
Yeah, I know. I was about to ask, what's the first favorite show? Come on, that better be a dang good show if it's the first.
Ethan Triplett said, what is your take on metaverse gaming coins? We've talked about this a little bit.
Man.
I can see crypto and NFTs playing a huge part in the video games. Owning some purchases makes sense. This is a hot topic for old Smain.
Yeah, no, this is a big deal. So here's the thing. There was a report that came out in 2018 when Facebook, now Meta, started moving in the direction of rebranding to Meta because, you know, rebrands take a long time. This has been in effect. They've been working on this for 2.5, 3 years. And they essentially said in this report, hey, the metaverse is ours to lose.
Yeah.
Because they have Oculus, because they have, you know, half of the social media world. I think that the metaverse and gaming coins are going to make a whole lot of money, and hopefully they're going to lead to more decentralization of data so that these massive companies don't have so much power over our data. Now, here's the thing, and I've said this in multiple streams before, I think that it is going to be massive, but I think it's going to take time. Developing a game, open source, is very, very hard. There has to be a master plan for how a game is going to be developed. It's very hard to just say, okay, we're going to change this, and we're going to change this, and we're going to change this. You got to lay a foundation, and you kind of need a company. You kind of need some centralization to build a game correctly, and there is going to be an ideological clash there where people are saying, no, we want to develop games decentralized. Yeah, but you have to have a team that's going to develop it. You just can't build something with intelligent design without having some kind of centralized authority that's directing the game development. So I think it's going to take time for it to develop, but I think it is going to be a $1 trillion market easily.
I've got a comment on that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So what's interesting to me is like, okay, so you earn coins in a lot of different games, right? So is the coin that you can earn in a game like Mario Kart, you know, just going down the road and you get a lot of them in a matter of seconds, is that coin going to be equivalent to like the coin you would get facing a boss in something like Skyrim? You know,
Good point.
That's the kind of thing that I'm interested in.
I'm really interested in it.
Yeah.
I definitely want to just play Mario Kart and make like a living. There are people that one day, you heard it here first. You actually didn't hear it here first because people have been talking about this for years now. But one day, people will be playing video games, and instead of making all their money from being a content creator, they're going to make all their money just from playing Mario Kart and collecting coins, and then they're going to go buy stuff with it. That's already happening, actually. It's really, really interesting.
We have 2 more super chats from Ish before I say his last name because, I mean, Ish, I'm assuming that's how it is pronounced. I'm going to change my tactic on what I think this pronunciation of the last name is. I actually am going to go with currency, and I'm going to say that the C is silent or it continues into the Z. So Ish currency first said, does the level of meme coin mania not concern you that we are approaching the top? People are now asking you about Baby Doge and Floki. So that's his first thing. The other one, he said, I'm now just sending super chat so I can hear Tim try to pronounce my name. Ish, listen, let me know in chat. I got to find out if that is correct, that C is silent and it's just Ish currency. Either way, you know, I could be completely wrong even with that.
I mean, I think this is a first for me, but I'll give you a pass on that one. That's a hard name.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Yeah. Anyway, but again, his more serious question: does it concern you that people are now asking about Baby Doge and Floki and all the other meme coins?
It doesn't concern me. It does because it doesn't surprise me. I mean, well, no, I take that back. It does concern me, but it doesn't surprise me. People are looking for the next big meme coin, and here's the deal. The fact that people are looking for the next big meme coin means that they're getting bored with the current meme coins. So if you want to invest in Sheeb or you want to invest in Doge, you kind of miss that train. So frankly, there is value to trying to find the next thing that's going to 1000x. If you manage to get that, great. But yeah, you got to be careful with that. If you make some money, take the profits, hold a moon bag just in case it a million X's like it does sometimes. But, you know, be happy with what you made.
Listen, he just said in chat that I nailed it. So
Woo!
take that W, you know.
Yeah, you see that, Tim? The one time I said that's fair
Yeah.
is the one time you got it.
We got one from here, and it's probably going to be the last one before we move back into our segments here. Here we go. Right as I say I got one, you know, right. We got a hard one. Okchunas. You know, that's how it is phonetically spelled. At what percentage of the current price of a token do you set your stop losses at? Yes, I realize it might be a nuanced answer. Love the show.
Well, that is always... It depends on one, it depends on if you're using leverage or if you're trading spot.
Absolutely.
And two, I mean, you even acknowledged it in your answer, in your super chat. It's a very nuanced answer. I can't really give you a straight answer to that. I normally would look for somewhere between 5 and 20%, but it just depends on how you set up your risk to reward ratio. If you set up a risk to reward ratio and said, hey, I'm okay with it going down 30%, then you don't want to set a 5% stop loss. But at the same time, if you're on 100x leverage and you can only go down 1%, then you need to have much less than a 1% stop loss. So it really does just depend on it. And the more experience you get in trading, the more in tune you will become with your own risk tolerance, and the better you'll be at understanding exactly where you ought to put that. With that said, let's go ahead and jump back onto the chart here.
What I was going to say real quick.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But we got 3,700 people watching. Thank you so much. But we only have 765 likes.
Oh, come on.
Within 2 minutes, I think we could be at 1.3K
oh, heck
easily.
Yeah. Smash those likes.
But also, if you love this show, please consider hitting that subscribe button, joining us every single day. We are here on Coffee and Crypto Live, Monday through Friday, no matter what, 9:30 to 10:30. So if you love this, if you like the content, consider hitting that subscribe button.
And for the first time in like 3 months, I actually have coffee on Coffee and Crypto. I've got to get better at that. You know, I've been drinking all kinds of different caffeine, but today my poison of choice is coffee. Make sure you grab your coffee before you jump into the stream every single morning, because this is Coffee and Crypto. Also, by the way, remember that today's video is brought to you by the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. If you want to learn more about technical analysis, the link's down below, and you can learn everything you need to know down below. Let's go ahead and jump onto my chart, and we're going to look at some more TA. We're going to start with the bearish TA. The very first thing I want to show you is that, obviously, Bitcoin has been making lower highs. We have seen 3 consecutive lower highs, and the bears are going to say that that is the major argument that Bitcoin's going to move to the downside. I don't think it's that big of a concern, but it is definitely there. On top of that, we can also see that the volume is very, very low on Bitcoin right now. For the last 4 days, it has been below the average, and that does mean that we are seeing some potential... we're seeing potentially some sideways movement. Potentially, we're seeing some lack of confidence in the market. I don't think that that's the case, but you are going to hear those arguments. I think what it means is that Bitcoin is finding equilibrium. The bulls and the bears are at kind of a deadlock, but from everything that we're seeing, the bulls are still winning that battle. On top of that, let's move down here to the 4-hourly chart. One of the bearish things that we can see down here is that there is a downtrend happening on the 4-hourly chart RSI, and we have failed to break through that resistance. We have gotten above some resistance, but we failed to get above this resistance. I very much want Bitcoin to get above this, but if it doesn't, then we're going to have trouble continuing to the upside. Of course, Bitcoin has resistance that needs to get through. It always does, but it is technically bearish, so there you go. Moving on down to the 1-hourly chart, there ain't much. There really isn't. I figured I'd show it to you just in case. I mean, I can show you that the MACD is converging bearish on the 1-hourly chart, but quite frankly, there's not a lot of bearish TA right now. A lot of people are going to say, hey, Bitcoin trading sideways, that's bearish because we were in an uptrend, and then sideways movement is what comes in between uptrend and downtrend, right? I've made that argument before, and that is a valid argument, but there is a lot of extraneous data coming in right now saying that, no, actually, we're pretty bullish. We've seen the bears try and push us down multiple times. We even saw it last week. You can see it here on this hourly chart where Bitcoin was attempted to push all the way down, and in my opinion, manipulated to be pushed all the way down to 57.5. It didn't happen. Bitcoin bounced very hard. The bulls are holding firm. So that's the bearish TA that I can find. Let's move here into Lux Algo TA, which is not bearish. We're just throwing it here in this segment. because there isn't a lot of bearish TA to look at. The first thing that I can show you here on Lux Algo actually is bearish. It is the fact that we have a sell signal flashing right now. By the way, we are sponsored by Lux Algo. You can find the link down below and use coupon code Jebb, J-E-B-B, for 20% off at checkout if you do want to get this indicator, if you find it useful. But this sell signal is definitely bearish. But I actually do want to add a caveat on Lux Algo here in a little bit, but I'm going to hold that in my back pocket for just a second. There is something I want to add to this, so keep that in mind, but at the moment we do have a sell signal. However, keep in mind also that this is a purple candlestick coloring. That basically means that yes, it's a sell signal, but it's not a very strong signal. It basically is the way that the market tells you that it is a weak signal. I spoke to the creator of Lux Algo, the CEO of this. I asked him what his favorite part of the entire Lux Algo premium indicator set is. He said the candle coloring, it is his favorite. So the fact that it is purple like this is very, very important. Now, another thing to talk about is that this green line right here, this is called the trend catcher. This trend catcher will normally call the trend just a little bit before the buy and sell signal will, and it actually is a way of kind of diversifying your opinion within the same indicator from just the buy and sell signals. It's a mistake to use Lux Algo just for the buy and sell signals. You want to use the rest of the indicator as well. This trend catcher is a very good example. Notice the trend catcher is trading sideways right here, indicating consolidation, but it has not turned red, which would indicate bearish movement. That is very important. It basically means that Bitcoin has returned to its baseline and is setting up for a healthy rally to the upside. On top of that, take a look here at the EQ cloud right here. This is widening and has been for quite some time. That essentially indicates to us that Bitcoin is bullish. Whenever this is widening, that is a bullish signal. Now, looking down here to the 4-hourly chart, we have some more data. And one of the first things I want to talk about here is I want to talk about the fact that we are currently under a strong signal, but I need to define something in signals for you. There are two different types of indicators in technical analysis. There are trending indicators and there are ranging indicators. Trending indicators give you signals when the market is either moving to the upside or to the downside. Ranging indicators give you signals when the market is trading sideways in a range. Lux Algo's buy and sell signals in particular are trending indicators, meaning that they are most useful whenever Bitcoin is moving up and down, or straight up or straight down. For example, you can see over here when it was in a pretty straight downtrend, sell signal called the top almost perfectly, buy signal called the bottom almost perfectly, buy signal called the bottom almost perfectly, the strong sell signal called the top almost perfectly. But if you look here at the 4-hourly chart, some of these signals, like these two strong signals, are getting kind of tripped up, and the reason is because we are in a range. We are not anymore in a simple trend. We're simply trading sideways in a range. So keep that in mind. There are two different types of indicators. Lux Algo shines in trending scenarios, not so much in ranging scenarios. By the way, that happens to every single indicator. Just want to give you that little bit of background. But down here on the 4-hourly chart, there are some pretty interesting things happening. Number one, the reversal zones are both converging on themselves. You can almost read these reversal zones a little bit like the Bollinger Bands. In fact, a lot like the Bollinger Bands, but they're a lot better because they give you a lot more data. They're both moving in. They're both constricting, meaning that we're currently seeing that the market is having quite a bit of volatility leave it. Again, it is another sign that we're entering this sideways movement, which is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. But looking down here, we can also see that we're in the center. And in fact, this EQ cloud looks like it is converging on itself, which means that we could see a cross, which is similarly read in the same way that you might read the MACD. If this cross is bullish, it is going to be a good thing. On top of that, if we take a look down here at something called the Lux Oscillator, which is a part of the Lux Algo premium package, you can see that we have been trending to the upside, and we are likely about to see Lux Algo cross to the upside. In fact, we've seen 3 bottoms, all 3 of which have been consecutively higher bottoms. That is actually a very good thing, and in fact, the highs down here on Lux Oscillator have also been higher highs. That basically means that, yeah, we're trading sideways, but Lux Oscillator is getting really happy because we're trading sideways, and we are in healthy positioning. Now, one final thing that I want to show you here is down on the hourly chart, and it has to do with the rest of Lux Algo as well. First and foremost, we did see a strong signal, and yes, you could say this is a great signal, but here's the thing. Remember, guys, this is a ranging market, not a trending market. Back over here in this trending market, these signals were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, take a look at these 4 signals. They're great, but then ever since the 28th of October, we've entered this ranging movement, and these signals started getting a little bit less reliable. Remember, guys, no matter what indicator it is, you absolutely have to make sure you are not asking a fish to climb a tree or for a monkey to go and fly, because you have to make sure that you're reading the indicator the way that it's supposed to be read. So the buy and sell signals are not very important down here right now, but what are very important are things like the trend catcher, as you can see right here, because the trend catcher is supposed to tell you, hey, we're trying to get out of this range. We're trying to go into a new trend. What is it saying? It has turned green recently. That's very big. On top of that, we can also look at these reversal zones and see that they're actually widening just a little bit over the last few hours. That's a good sign, and we're sitting up here above the EQ cloud, which means we're in the bullish control zone, and we're getting up here closer to the reversal zones. So the hourly chart is looking pretty bullish, as we've said with many other pieces of our analysis. Now, the final thing that I want to show you shows up down here on the Lux oscillator. We have seen a green dot come in right here on the 31st of October. That is very bullish. And just like we saw earlier on the 4-hourly chart, Lux oscillator is setting higher lows and higher highs, and we're currently trending to the upside with quite a bit of strength. So the overall picture that we're getting from the bears and we're getting from Lux Algo is essentially that there are signals showing that we're bearish on the daily chart, not just the sell signal, but also a couple of other things. I don't think they're anything to be worried about. I think they're actually very bullish things, or not bullish, but they're sideways movement things. And then when you get down to the shorter term time frames like the hourly chart, you see something very interesting. Bitcoin went from a major uptrend starting back over here at the end of September, hit a top, then we immediately went into a downtrend that bottomed out around the 27th of October, and now we're trading sideways. This is very important. Number one, remember, ranging indicators are good in this area, and trending indicators are good in this area. But number two, you can see Bitcoin topped out, had a correction, now it's trading sideways. What comes between downwards movement and upwards movement? Sideways movement. What are we seeing right now? We're seeing sideways movement. What are we seeing right now? We're seeing some kind of faux bearish signals that are not very strong, but we're also seeing signals that the bulls are retaining their strength, that they're being attacked by the bears, yes, but they're not giving in. Here's the deal. As we've seen with our longer term TA, as we've seen with our medium and shorter term TA, Bitcoin right now is setting up for a big movement. I think that we are going to see Bitcoin rallying up above all-time high in the month of November, and I think it's going to come relatively soon. With that said, let's go into an intermission, and then we will go into our final segment here in just a moment. Thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and hit the like button. Let's go to full screen. Let's see how many likes we have. 1.3K. Tim, we hit it.
Yeah,
I think we can hit 1.7, though.
I was going to say, maybe I need to start saying higher numbers.
Yeah, you need to set higher numbers.
Because I think we hit it within 2 minutes, too.
Yeah.
The other deal. All right, here we go. There is no vowel in the second name, but I'm assuming it's still Sean John. It's just JHN, though. Check out Blanco's NFT game. Okay. You know, if anyone is interested there, you can. Gerald Buller Jr. said, I think it's you, but there's a Y missing. You guys are one of the channels that are changing my life. Great work, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerald. Moving on. Here we okay. Jeffrey Fritz said, here are some sleeves for that hoodie, Timmy.
I saw that earlier.
You know, Jeffrey, I would say
I like the hoodie
I would
with no
say I'll
sleeve.
give you a W for the Seminoles, but you guys couldn't handle the talent. So oof. Shady Magician, love you, Jeffrey. Shady Magician said, I am confident in the total recall. 3 boobed alien formation will break to the upside.
What the heck?
I've never heard of that formation.
Okay,
but that's,
well then.
that's different. You know?
I get the reference, but I don't.
I'm seeing a parallel here. So he's been donating a lot, so I'm gonna read it. Normally we don't read about, you know, which I don't know. I don't know if this is a shill coin or not, but Tiger King coin T King on Uniswap donated to say, how about meme coins up 49% T King. So you know, I don't know. Like, Jebb, have you looked into Tiger King coin at all? Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I watched the show, but I haven't read the coin. I haven't looked into the coin.
T-Shroom, have you looked into that at all?
I feel like 40. What do you say? 49%. That's not that impressive for a meme coin.
Yeah.
If you're gonna chat about
in
it.
2 minutes is nice, but you know,
It's in like 2
I don't
minutes.
know how long
Nice. Yeah,
that
heck yeah.
took. Rick4962 or Yard Dog, as we know him, gave $50. Said, thank you guys for your dedication and help. Come on, let's help these guys. Elon to the moon. Here we go.
Oh my gosh. Everybody pumping their meme coins
Love
out here.
Yard Dog though. I don't know
my
about
goodness.
about Elon coin, but you know. Roger Adcock said, Cody Maintenance 2.0 tomorrow ready. Yo, blast off and Facebook meta rumors and Cody Trust Chain pay attention. Ninja Doge launching game soon. Smash up the likes and enjoy your week, folks. So I know Cody is the Ninja Doge. That's just in the meme coin. He said game launching. So that's another
Ninja
game
Doge.
coin.
Oh my gosh, these meme coins, dude.
There's a lot. I mean, they're coming out.
These freaking meme coins. Oh my
You
goodness.
know, there's not gonna be enough room for all of them. So Got to find a winner there. What I do want to say really quickly, because that was all of our super chats, unless something just popped up while I was. We did have one from Sasson or Sasson. I don't know which one. I'm a bit scared if everyone expects Bitcoin price to surge this month. Wouldn't it do the opposite?
So I do want to address that really quickly because people often subscribe to this contrarian mindset, and I think it's a big mistake if not done appropriately. I don't disagree with the contrarians necessarily, but you get expert contrarian traders who have been doing it for 20 or 30 years, but then sometimes they go and say, hey, be contrarian, you know, and unknowingly people think that what they're trying to say is that just always expect the market's going to do exactly the opposite of what everybody expects. Not true. Absolutely untrue. Factually inaccurate. Do the historical analysis. It's rare that happens. The market does need to be read through a contrarian lens when you're in a period of FUD or FOMO. If the market is incredibly bearish, there's a lot of FUD in the market, that might be a time to be contrarian. However, whenever the market is very neutral, that's not necessarily a time that you should disregard the analysis. There is a time to be contrarian, and normally the time to be contrarian is whenever the hype has taken over or the FUD has taken over. In those times, it's a good time to be contrarian. So that's at the top and the bottom of the market, the extreme tops and bottoms. In the middle, which is where we are right now, it's not a very good idea, in my opinion. You do always want to be thinking in a contrarian mindset, but don't always just assume that it is absolutely going to happen in exactly the opposite direction. You do want to be thinking, wait a second, Jebb's saying it's going to go up. A lot of the analysts are saying it's going to go up. There seems to be some FOMO in the market. Should I be contrarian? Right now, I'd say no. Don't be just a hardcore contrarian. Just always say it's going to do the opposite. But at the same time, keep it in mind because it might be true. Hopefully that makes sense.
Last thing before we go back into the scheduled show. Jebb, I know they would like to have TA. We don't have time to do the TA, but could you give a very quick view of what you're seeing right now happening on DOT and Cardano in chat? That has been major conversation.
Sure thing.
Both bulls and bears in there. But DOT overall had a great day. So I know you don't do TA on DOT daily, but I know you look at it from time to time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, real quick, let's jump to my screen. I'll show you what I think about DOT. Right now, DOT has a trend line of resistance. This trend line of resistance has been on the hourly chart ever since the 11th of September. We're currently testing it. We've seen a pretty big jump on DOT from $42 up to $49. Out here on the daily chart, we are currently right below its all-time high, up here around $49.50. Look, here's the deal, guys. I've been very bullish on DOT for a long time, and this is an ascending triangle pattern in the same way that Bitcoin is. I think this is likely going to break to the upside. All it really needs is either some major movement on Bitcoin, an altcoin rally, or some big movement on its own news front. And on Cardano, Cardano has dropped down again about a week ago, down to around $1.89. That's why we aren't talking about it a whole lot right now. It's pretty boring, but I do think that it is going to rally and do very well by the end of the year. Now, before we jump into it, let's go to full screen. There's one more super chat that I want to address from, let's see, Louis the, let me see if I can read my Roman numerals. Louis the 16th. We got a king in chat, guys. He said, Lux Algo shows a strong signal mostly after the price dropped or spiked hard. Therefore, it's sometimes too late. What do you think about this statement? Let me jump onto my screen really quickly. I do want to address that, and that kind of ties into what I was talking about earlier with Lux Algo sometimes being read the wrong way. A lot of people will look at these buy and sell signals, and because they're so great, sometimes people will look at them and they'll be like, okay, that's the be-all, end-all. Here's the strategy that I like to use with Lux Algo. Let's look at a strong trending market like over here. The thing that I like to do with Lux Algo is I like to use a strategy where I look at the Lux Oscillator, I look at the trend catcher, and I look at the buy and the sell signal. Generally speaking, all three of these are not going to show up at the exact same time. Generally speaking, they're going to show up at different times. The oscillator here, for example, started rounding right here. Then the buy signal happened when the cross happened right here. And then the trend catcher happened right here. Generally speaking, one of these three indicators is going to call the rally before it happens, and then the other two will serve as confirmation. Sometimes it's going to be the buy signal that'll serve as the early warning sign. Sometimes it'll be the trend catcher changing color that'll serve as the early warning sign. Sometimes it'll be the Lux Oscillator that'll serve as the early warning sign. But in general, one of these is going to call the trend pretty early. For example, Lux Oscillator started rounding right here quite a bit before we actually hit the bottom, and you would have gotten in this. Then the buy signal came in a little bit later to kind of confirm it, and we actually never even saw the trend catcher turn green. If you look over here, you can see something similar. Strong buy signal came in. We moved to the upside. just if you look through this, I found it to be very helpful. Look at those three. One of them is almost always going to call the trend. The other two are going to act as confirmations. That's why I say make sure you're using the entire indicator package. If you do, go ahead and get Lux Algo. Make sure you're not just using the buy and sell signals. I've heard it from the CEO himself. That is a big mistake that people often make and that I found myself making when I first started using it. Anyway, I just wanted to address that because it's a valid question. Tim, I want to ask you a question, though. What fundamental story in crypto could launch Bitcoin up to Plan B's price target of $135,000 by the end of this year? That's only 60 days away. What could do that? Full screen.
There's a lot of things that could do that. I don't know if I have a realistic one. I mean, if you're asking for one story, at the end, you know what, a realistic story that could do it. Tesla accepts Bitcoin again, and then also paired with they also buy up a lot more of it as well.
That could definitely do it.
I mean, we could do the same thing. Apple buys Bitcoin, or Amazon buys Bitcoin, or Walmart buys. Take a large company and get them heavily invested in Bitcoin and announce that. That'll do it.
What do you think the next big companies that are going to invest in Bitcoin are? Do you think Amazon, Walmart?
I actually believe within the next. I would like to say before the end of this bull run, so who knows how long that's going to be, but at least by the next one, I believe that almost every single large company like that is going to be invested in at least crypto. I mean, if they're not Bitcoin, at least Ethereum or something like that, but I would expect Bitcoin.
I've got one.
Yeah, what's up?
I think that a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I actually think that the Indian government coming out with tax guidance will be big.
That's pretty big, yeah.
Because
that's going to be huge just because India has been pretty anti-Bitcoin.
Yeah, they've been flipping over the last year or so
Yeah.
in that direction.
Yeah, so I think the fact that they're going to come out with that is important, but then also getting down into the numbers and seeing what the tax rates are actually going to be, and see how they're treating gains versus realized. All that is going to be really, really interesting and could potentially set a global precedent for how Bitcoin is taxed.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that.
And that's another question I had. Why do you, well, first of all, I think that you guys are absolutely right on that, but I also have another kind of follow-up question to that is the thing that's on my mind. We've already seen a lot of this massive adoption happen. We've already seen a lot of big names, especially like Visa, MasterCard, realize, hey, wait a second, we're about to get left behind. We need to jump on the train or, we're just done. Why do you think the Bitcoin price has seemingly not reacted to some of these stories? Do you think it has already reacted appropriately, or do we need even more rally as a result?
Here's a good question. How many of those stories was actually the company buying in, or how many of them were just allowing it to be used on their servers? Because there's a difference between those two. It's one, like, for example, Walmart buying these Bitcoin ATMs does not mean that Walmart has invested heavily in Bitcoin. So unless something broke that I didn't know about, I don't know if Walmart's heavily invested into Bitcoin yet. They're just investing in those ATM machines. But I bet you when they see the profit on those ATM machines, the company will go ahead and do that. Same thing with like Visa, MasterCard, Venmo, all these companies that are allowing you to use crypto and use Bitcoin. That's great. That's awesome. But how much are they actually invested is a good question.
Well, now I have a follow-up question for you. 3 hours ago, there was a report released on the pers.com. Bitcoin spot ETFs receive green light in Australia. Okay. So spot basically meaning, as far as I can tell from this report, that this is going to be a Bitcoin-backed ETF. Now, I might be wrong on that. I literally just found this while we're here, so I haven't had time to fact-check that, but that's what it seems like. And I can also read right here. I can show you on my screen. All funds looking to launch a Bitcoin ETF must have at least $10 million in net tangible assets and adhere to risk management. So this is not a retail ETF, unfortunately. Do you guys think, I'd love to hear both of your opinions on this, because I think the answer is absolutely yes to the question I'm about to ask. Do you guys think that we have not seen yet a lot of the bullish price action come from these stories that we've seen over the last 3 months? Is there still more to come just from what we've seen happen already?
I'll let T-Shroom answer first.
Like, are you saying that kind of the price action's been delayed?
Yeah, I don't think the price has caught up with the news yet.
I agree. I tend to agree. I mean, some of the stories are kind of wait and see stories, and then you get like these like Burger King and like MasterCard.
Burger King news.
Like those are big stories, but they're like to come. So it's kind of like, the famous trope in crypto is like it comes out and then it does the opposite of what everyone thought because the price was already baked in. The crypto market, there's a lot of young traders. They're not used to that baked in effect quite yet. So I think there's definitely going to be some upside to come on the fundamentals, but I think that there's actually headlines that haven't dropped yet that are so kind of come from such a different place that we haven't expected yet that they're going to really shock.
Well, the stories you're discussing are the ETFs, correct?
Well, not just the ETFs, but also just everything else that's happened in the last 6 months. Like, we're in such a better fundamental position today than we were 6 months ago.
Well, so here's another thing you got to remember is that how many people bought at the top back in April?
Yeah, that's true.
And they're just they haven't touched it at all.
Yeah,
they're just waiting to get back in profit, and probably a good amount of those got so scared that they're waiting to get back in profit, and they're like, I don't really want to.
You think a bunch of them are? You think a bunch of them are going to sell?
I don't want to give a number, but I think whether it's a bunch, there are definitely some. So there is some stuff there. Obviously the FUD that comes out every single week. We just had the Jamie Dimon stuff that
Jamie Dimon loves
like a week here, like 2 weeks ago. Here's the thing: people listen to that. Like, people put their money into Bitcoin when it was all hype. They FOMO'd in, and then they lost like 50% of their investment, and then they listened to Jamie Dimon. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I agree. Like, I saw it firsthand. I lost 50% of my money. I'm not doing that again. And
you think a lot of those people that lost all that money are selling right now because they broke even? Is that where a lot of the
there's a lot of bullish
from?
stuff going on, but some people are selling. So, like someone out there is selling.
I think a lot of the people that bought in over the what was it, April and May, back when we were at all-time high before, I think a lot of them are selling right now, which is unfortunate because when this thing blasts off here in a couple of months, they're going to get left behind.
But here's you had a question on here. I'm gonna kind of lead this. You were gonna ask me about crypto noobs, the fear, what my fear of crypto noobs getting invested in right now. The thing is, this is a great time to buy. Like any noob. So I was a noob last year. Jebb, you convinced me based off the things, what was happening. Tim, this is a great time to get in. I could have easily rationalized and said no a couple weeks ago was good because I got in at 11,000. Weeks before I got in, the price was sitting around 9,000. About a week after I got in, it went back down to 9,000. So I could have easily been tempted to be like, oh no, I made a mistake. I got in the wrong time. But the truth is, in hindsight, it was a great time to get in. The problem that I'm afraid of with noobs getting in right now is that they're not going to be satisfied with their profit rate. And they're going to freak out. And this is what happened. I think that a lot of noobs got in back in April. They weren't happy with their investment, and they're gonna FUD out right now, and they're gonna get out, and they're not gonna reap the rewards of just patiently waiting for price to acquire. And that's the thing is that, like, if you can tell me, if I can convince a noob, just let it sit there. Don't freak out if the price goes down. Don't freak out if we go up to 120, but then drop back down to like 50,000. Just sit and hold and wait for years. Don't just because you see a bearish candle on the hourly chart freak out and decide, oh, I made a mistake. But my fear is, unfortunately, that we're going to see a lot of people FOMO in at the top, freak out. When it goes back down, get out and be very hesitant to want to get back in.
I think that's amazing what you just said. I could have bought at 9,000, and then 2 weeks later, man, I could have bought at 9,000, but you bought at 11,000.
Yeah.
You're up 500% now.
Yeah.
But I remember standing in your kitchen and your wife was like freaking out, like, "Hey, Tim, should we have bought late?" Like, do you remember her reaction? Can you tell the audience a little bit about her reaction?
Oh, no. Literally a week later, when it went back to 9,000, she's like, "Oh, Tim, did we make a mistake?" Because that was our savings, Did we make a mistake? Like, should we just cut our losses and get out now? And she's probably like, I think she's watching now, so she's probably laughing and being like, "Tim, why you got the story?" But that's the rationale. Like, that is what people think.
And it is scary. You guys did put in your whole savings. I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? You guys put in more than I thought you were going to. By the way, I want to give a shout out to somebody we met on stream, Wamaka. I think it's Wamaka. I think the N is Wamaka. The N is silent, I think.
It's subtle. It's there. It's subtle.
It's Wamaka. Wamaka.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We met you on the webinar. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you guys, everybody who joined the webinar. And by the way, if you joined this stream today, you should definitely check out the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy because it is sponsoring this show, and it is our very own. I can show you really quickly. This is essentially over 40 videos and about 12 hours of high-quality educational content where I teach you guys everything that I know about technical analysis so that you guys can understand how to read these markets, how to profit in these markets, how to develop yourself in these markets so that you can go and make money in them. If you guys want to learn how to do technical analysis and learn everything that I've learned over the 10,000 hours that I've been doing this over the last 4.5 years, then make sure to check the link in the description box down below. CT2A is where Tim learned how to do technical analysis. So it is also, by the way, it's also the place where a lot of you guys learn how to do technical analysis. Drop a 1 in chat if you've used CT2A and you're an alumni of it and you are a fan of it. Now, Tim, I want to ask you one final question here.
Yeah.
Plan B said $63,000 by the end of October was going to be the minimum. We ended the month at $62,000. Number one, do you fault him for being $1,000 off?
No.
And number two, do you think we're on track for $93,000 by the end of this month, like he thinks?
Listen, I mean, a week before we were over. You know, we were at 64. You know,
I can't believe
sorry,
we were $1,000 off.
We topped out at what?
67.
67. All right.
Yeah.
Listen,
Cannot believe it.
You cannot. He was off by 1,000 again. I also think that like it's more like a target. It's like it's not that he's trying to hit it dead on. He's just throwing something and saying, hey, based off of what I'm seeing, that's the target. 62,000 is right within 1,000. When you're looking at a price of like if the price final was like 2,000, he was 1,000 off. Okay, that's a massive difference. He was 1,000 off of a $63,000 prediction. The man knows something that the rest of us don't. I have not lost faith in his prediction. So, you know, when we start planning out what our predictions are for the rest of this month, he says 98K. Okay, I'll say 97. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, how dare? I mean, it'd be one thing if he was $1,000 off on like Cardano, but he was $1,000 off on Bitcoin. You know, that's pretty freaking good. I'm pretty excited about that. Well, Tim's Taylor Shroom, do you guys have any final thoughts before the stream is over? Any final parting words?
I think we have a couple super chats.
Yes, we do have a couple super chats. We do need to read some of those.
Here we go. I'm in Farhan. Farhan, I think it's Farhan, though. You guys are the best. Learning a lot from you. How come no one's talking about Bitcoin Taproot upgrade later this month? Can you cover this? We
are actually going to cover that as it gets a little bit closer. I've been looking at it. I believe Taproot's coming out later this month. I think you're right on that. I forget when it actually comes out. Yeah, I need to look into that more, but that is something that we are probably going to be covering. Yes.
Gotcha. Bill Storm gave $20, said, guys, you read my Tiger King coin chat last week. 49% was on the day. We were up 13x in the last month. Literally, look at the chart.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
how often does something 13x and then 13x again is my question. Not very often.
And then I'm not 100% certain what it was from. Maybe it was a response, but Yard Dog Rick 4962 just gave and said LOL. So that's
there you go.
Yep.
Well,
that's
guys,
what we got.
Somebody said Plan B is Dutch. That's it. He's Dutch. The Dutch always know what the market is going to do. If you're going to listen to somebody, listen to a Dutch person or Crypto Jebb. You should definitely subscribe. Guys, that's all we got for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. If you did, like that video. And if you haven't, well, dislike the video, but I think you guys hopefully enjoyed. Hopefully we brought you some entertaining content. If you enjoyed today's show, also consider checking out the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy. The link's in the description. And follow us on Twitter. I am at Crypto Jebb. Tim is the crypto_beard.
Yep.
And Smay is Thicky Smay with 2 C's and a Y. Make sure to follow all 3 of us on our Twitter, just in case anything ever does happen again to our YouTube. That's all I got for you today, guys. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.